Hello, everyone, and welcome to English Bloom, the podcast where real conversations help your English bloom naturally. I'm Alex.
And I'm Sarah, coming to you with another topic that feels so everyday, yet so tricky. Today, we're talking about time management.
Exactly. If you're an advanced English learner tuning in, whether you're a busy professional juggling meetings in your second language or a student trying to fit in those extra listening hours, this episode is for you. Stick around because we're going to unpack it all in a way that feels like chatting with friends over coffee.
Coffee. Speaking of which, Alex, did you actually manage to make it to the studio on time today, or did you run against the clock again?
Guilty as charged. I was literally burning the midnight oil last night preparing notes, and suddenly it was 3 a.m. You know that feeling when time just slips through your fingers?
Oh, wow. I know it all too well. But let's hook our listeners right away with something surprising. Studies show the average adult wastes about 2.5 hours a day on low-value tasks. 2.5 hours. That's like throwing away an entire workday every week.
Insane, right? And for language learners especially, those lost hours could be the difference between getting by in English and really thriving. So today we're diving deep, not just tips, but the real talk behind why we struggle and how to turn things around. Sarah, quick check-in before we get rolling. How's your week been on the time management front?
Honestly, a mixed bag. I finally hit the ground running on Monday with my new planner, but by Wednesday I was back to putting things off. You?
Same boat, but that's why this topic is perfect. Let's shift gears and start with why time management even matters so much for people like us.
All right, big picture first. Time is the one resource you can't buy more of, right? Yet we treat it like it's infinite.
Precisely. Think of it as a beautiful garden. If you don't tend it, water the important plants, pull the weeds of distraction, everything just grows wild. For English learners, that garden is your fluency. You can't cram everything in the night before an important presentation and expect it to bloom.
Love the analogy, but let's ground it with real examples. I read this fascinating report last month from a university in the UK saying that professionals who actively manage their time report 40% higher career satisfaction. 40%! And for language learners, it's even more critical because mastering idioms, phrasal verbs, collocations, that takes consistent, deliberate practice, not last-minute cramming.
Exactly. What if, and this is my classic what if question, what if you treated your daily English practice like a non-negotiable meeting with your future self? No more, I'll do it tomorrow.
Tomorrow is the busiest day of the week, isn't it? That's actually a lovely little saying I picked up years ago. But seriously, listeners, if you're taking notes right now, notice how Alex just used non-negotiable, a great collocation for things you absolutely must do.
See? We're already weaving in the language bits without making it feel like a lecture. Okay, so why do we struggle? For me, it's often the bright, shiny object syndrome. I see a new podcast on advanced grammar, and suddenly my carefully planned study hour disappears.
Oh, I'm right there with you. But here's where data helps me stay grounded. Research from the American Psychological Association shows that multitasking can reduce productivity by up to 40%. 40%! So when you're switching gears between Zoom calls, email, and trying to squeeze in 20 minutes of shadowing English audio, you're actually getting less done, albeit in more dramatic fashion.
Albeit, beautiful word by the way, means although, but sounds way more sophisticated. Listeners, file that one away. So if multitasking is the villain, what's the hero?
Let's move to our first big beat, the classic techniques that actually work. I'm a huge fan of the Eisenhower matrix. You know, sorting tasks into 4 boxes. Urgent and important, important but not urgent but not important, and neither.
Yes, visualize it like a battlefield. The urgent and important tasks are the fires you have to put out immediately. The important but not urgent ones are the strategic moves that win the long war, like your daily English reading.
Exactly. I started using it last year, and it completely changed how I prepare for client calls. Instead of putting out fires all day, I now block time for deep work. And for language learners, imagine putting your intensive listening practice in that important but not urgent quadrant. Suddenly, it stops getting pushed aside.
Brilliant. Another one I swear by is Pomodoro. 25 minutes of focused work, 5-minute break. But here's my twist for us language folks. What if you used Pomodoro for speaking practice? Set the timer, speak aloud about your day in English for 25 minutes straight. No stopping, even if you make mistakes. Then reward yourself with a short break to listen to a fun podcast.
Wait, seriously? I tried that and ended up laughing at myself after minute 12 because I kept mixing up effect and effect. But you're right, the timer creates this gentle pressure that stops perfectionism from creeping in. Studies actually show Pomodoro can increase focus by 25 to 30% for many people.
Intriguing. And the beauty is you can adapt it. If 25 minutes feels too short for deep reading of an article, stretch it to 50. The key is the rhythm.
On the other hand, some days I just can't get into the groove. That's when the 2-minute rule saves me. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. Reply to that quick email, water the plant on your desk, open your English app and do one quick exercise. Momentum builds fast.
Love it. Small wins compound. Speaking of which, have you ever noticed how finishing a tiny task makes you feel like you've already gotten the ball rolling?
Totally. That's a perfect phrasal verb for our learners. Get the ball rolling means to start something moving.
All right, shifting gears to something a bit more vulnerable. Let's talk procrastination, the silent killer of good intentions. Sarah, be honest, what's your go-to procrastination activity when you're supposed to be studying advanced vocabulary?
Organizing my digital files. I'll spend 40 minutes color-coding folders instead of actually opening the textbook. It feels productive, but it's just busy work.
Exactly. Psychologists call it task aversion. Your brain senses discomfort, maybe fear of making mistakes in English, and looks for anything less scary. For me, it was doom-scrolling language learning TikTok. I'd watch 10 videos on how to sound native, and suddenly an hour had vanished.
Oh, wow. But here's the data that actually helped me. Procrastination isn't about laziness. It's often about emotion regulation. When a task feels overwhelming, your brain seeks dopamine elsewhere. So the trick is to make the task feel smaller. Break it down ridiculously. Instead of master all phrasal verbs today, say, learn and use 3 new ones in a sentence.
Brilliant. I started doing that with my morning routine. Instead of plan my entire week, I now ask, what's the one English-related thing that would move the needle most today? Usually it's recording a 60-second voice memo summarizing an article I read. Takes 10 minutes, feels huge.
And if you're listening and thinking, but I still can't start, try the 5-second rule. Count backwards 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just begin. Mel Robbins popularized it. Sounds simple, but it interrupts the hesitation loop.
What if we combined it with accountability? Tell a language partner, I'll send you a voice note using today's new idioms by 5 p.m. Suddenly, the social pressure turns procrastination into, well, not an option.
Exactly. I did that last month with a colleague learning Spanish. We swapped daily 30-second updates. My English improved as a side effect because explaining concepts clearly forced me to be precise.
Building on that, let's talk tools, because the right ones can be game changers, but the wrong ones become shiny distractions themselves. Sarah, are you team digital or team old school notebook?
I'm hybrid, actually. I use a paper planner for big picture weekly goals. It just feels more tangible, but rescue time on my laptop tracks where my hours really go. Last week, it told me I spent 47 minutes on YouTube researching productivity hacks. 47 minutes.
That's savage. I'm all about Notion these days. I have a dashboard with my language goals, daily Pomodoros, even a section for new idioms I encounter. But here's my cautionary tale. I once downloaded 8 different apps in one weekend trying to optimize everything. Ended up spending more time managing the tools than actually using them.
Classic overkill. Listeners, notice how Alex just used overkill. It means doing way more than necessary. A lovely idiomatic expression. My advice? Start ridiculously simple. 1 calendar, 1 to-do list, 1 habit tracker. Master that before adding bells and whistles.
What if someone's in a non-English speaking country and the best apps aren't localized well? Then go analog. I once met a learner in Vietnam who used a simple wall calendar and colored stickers for different study types. Green for listening, blue for speaking. Beautiful system. Zero tech stress.
Love that. And culturally, it's interesting. In some places, time is more fluid. Polychronic cultures, where relationships come before strict schedules. In others, like Germany or Japan, being even 5 minutes late is almost unforgivable. As global English users, we have to navigate both worlds.
Precisely. So managing time also means managing expectations across cultures. That's advanced stuff.
Okay, final big B before we wrap the main discussion. The surprising truth that sometimes the best time management is doing less.
Wait, seriously? You're going to challenge everything we just said?
Not challenge, compliment. There's this paradox. The more you try to squeeze every minute, the less effective you become. Burnout sneaks up. I learned this the hard way last year when I was running on fumes preparing for a big conference. My English was fluent, but my creativity, zero.
Running on fumes, another great one, meaning you have almost no energy left. Listeners, jot that down. So what flipped it for you?
Scheduling deliberate downtime. Not scrolling, not productive hobbies, actual wind down time. A 20-minute walk with no podcast, just letting my mind wander in English thoughts. Or an evening where I read fiction purely for pleasure, no vocabulary notebook.
That's gold. I started doing digital sunsets, phone in another room after 9 p.m. Suddenly I had space to reflect. What worked today? What felt heavy? That reflection time is where real insights bloom.
And for language learners, it's magic. Your brain consolidates everything you study during the day. So ironically, by clocking out earlier, you actually learn faster.
what if we reframed rest as a strategic investment rather than a reward? Like, I'm allocating 90 minutes tonight during charge, so tomorrow's study session is sharper.
I love that reframe. It takes the guilt out of it.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground. Time to land on some clear takeaways. Sarah, you first. What are the top 3 ideas our listeners should steal today?
1. Audit your time honestly for 1 week. Where is it really going? 2. Pick just one technique, Eisenhower, Pomodoro, whatever resonates, and commit for 14 days. 3. Protect your deep English practice time like it's a meeting with your boss. No cancellations.
Perfect. And from my side, remember that time management is self-management in disguise. Be kind to yourself when you slip up. We all do. The comeback is what counts.
And language-wise, here are 5 expressions we use today that you can start dropping into your own conversations. Hit the ground running, start something with energy, putting things off, delaying, get the ball rolling, begin the process, running on fumes, almost out of energy, in the nick of time,